Writing is one of the most important skills that you can master in English. It can open doors, create opportunities, and even change your life forever. Think about it. How many highly successful people struggle to communicate their ideas clearly? Whether they write themselves or have other people to do it for them, effective writing is always part of their success. Just like speaking, writing allows you to communicate, connect, and express yourself. But unlike speaking, writing gives you time to think, refine, and craft your words perfectly. That is why great writers are respected, trusted, and often successful in their businesses or careers. But here's the problem. Writing in English is not easy. It takes patience, the right techniques, and a lot of practice. For some people, writing is even harder than speaking. You might be able to write a few sentences, but how do you write so well that you don't waste time making a lot of mistakes and actually enjoy the process? The good news, I've tried every method that you can think of and practiced for hours until I figured out the best way to do it. And now I'm gonna share with you a step-by-step system that works every single time. I know this because this system helped me write more than 30 essays that won me thousands of dollars in scholarships, start and grow my online business, and even make journaling something I look forward to daily. So today I'm gonna give you a complete guide on how to master writing in English. Let's get started. I'm about to share something that changed my writing forever. It's so simple, but yet so powerful that when you try it, you will wonder why no one ever told you this before. But before I tell you what it is, picture this. You're sitting in front of your computer and the blank page is staring back at you. You have great ideas in your head, but when you start typing, something is off. Your sentences feel weird, your words don't flow, and even though you know what you want to say, when you write, it just doesn't sound the same. Sound familiar? I discovered the solution by accident, and it's not what you think. Here's what nobody tells you. If you're thinking in your native language at the same time that you're trying to write in English, you are playing a losing game. Let me break down what is really happening in your brain. You have a thought in your native language. You try to translate it to English. You struggle to make it sound natural. You write it down, you read it back, and it sounds weird. You try to fix it again and again. It's exhausting. And the worst part, your writing is still not good somehow. And I hit this wall when I had to write an important essay for a scholarship of $5,000. I spent days working on it. When I showed it to one of the people that was reviewing for me, he said, the grammar is correct, but it sounds translated. The way that he said made me feel like everything that I was doing was for nothing. Then I learned about a brain hack. So simple that it seemed too good to be true. Stop translating and start thinking in English first. Wait, but how is this a hack? Because when you don't translate, you're not just writing better English. You are transforming your brain to think in English patterns. Here's why this changes everything. Scientists have discovered something amazing. The language you think in shapes how you think. And it means different languages creates different thoughts patterns. When you think in your native language first, you are stuck in those thought patterns. You try to force those patterns into English. Your writing feels like it's never going to improve. But when you think directly in English, you naturally use English thought patterns. Your brain starts forming ideas in English structure. Your writing flows because it matches how English naturally works. When I started to think in English first, before writing, 5 amazing things happened. You unlock untranslatable concepts. Every language has words that don't translate well. When you think in English, you start to use concepts that only exist in English, like awkward or insight. These words carry feelings and ideas that might not exist in your language. Your writing personality would change. This one shocked me. When I wrote in English at the same time that I was thinking in my native language, I sounded serious and kind of formal. But when I started to think in English first, I started writing in a completely different way. More casual, funny, and confident. It's still me, but it was almost like a different side of me. You will write twice as fast. This is not a joke. Translation is like driving with the parking brake on. When I stopped translating in my head first, my writing speed doubled. At a 1 hour task now takes 30 minutes, even 20, 15 minutes. You will stop second guessing word choices. When you think only in English, you will just know whether big, large, huge, or massive, for example, feels right in a sentence. And this gut feeling is something that only native speakers have naturally. And you can have this too. You will finally write how you speak. The biggest change, your writing will just sound and feel like natural speech. And the gap between your writing and your speaking will get smaller. So here's how to start thinking English before you write. Exercise 1. The morning brain dump. Take 5 minutes each morning to write whatever comes to mind in English. No editing, no worrying about making mistakes, just raw thoughts on a paper. For example, you just start writing whatever comes to your mind. I'm feeling tired today, but excited about meeting with my friend later. Need to remember to buy milk. The movie last night was pretty good, but the ending was kind of weird. This trains your brain to form thoughts directly in English. Exercise 2. The picture to words game. So find a photo or look around your room. So you have to describe what you see in English without translating. For example, don't think there's a chair in your native language first. Just see chair, write chair in English. And then you build up to full sentences. So you do this 5 minutes daily. It builds a direct path from your eyes to English words, cutting all that translation process that it just makes you waste time. Exercise 3. The talk then write method. So before you write anything important, say your thoughts out loud in English first. Record yourself if possible. Then write from what you said, not from translated thoughts. This works because speaking is way more natural than writing. When you speak first, you capture patterns in English that you can then put into writing. And remember that scholarship essay that I mentioned? After learning this technique, I rewrote it thinking in English only. The result, the same person saw it again, review it. Did someone help you with this? He asked. No one had. I had simply stopped translating and started thinking in the language I was writing. I won the $5,000 scholarship. But the real win was discovering that my writing problems were not about English skills. They were about thinking in the wrong language. And here's what's amazing. The more you think in English, the better you write. The more you write in English, the more you think in English. It's like a snowball effect that keeps growing. And this is just the first step to become an amazing writer in English. Once you master thinking in English first, you will be ready for the next secret. A technique used by best-selling authors to make their writing impossible to put down. I will share with you a 3-step formula to create writing so incredible that readers cannot look away. It is the difference between writing that people forget and writing that people remember for years. Now that you've learned how to think in English can transform your writing, I'm going to share something even more powerful. A formula so effective that even professional writers pay to learn it. And I learned this by accident when I was struggling to write a presentation for work. I had tried everything, staying up late, drinking more coffee, watching YouTube videos. Nothing helped. My writing still felt confused and weak. Then I met a guy who had written speeches for business leaders. When I showed him my draft, he smiled and said, "You are making this harder than it needs to be." He shared a simple 3-step formula that changed everything. The next day, I rewrote my script in just 2 hours. And when I delivered, my friend pulled me aside and asked, "Who wrote that for you?" He couldn't believe that I had done it myself. And this formula works for literally anything that you need to write in English. Emails, essays, stories, social media posts, even text messages. It's like having a secret key that unlocks clear, powerful writing every single time. So let me break it down for you. Step 1 is all about clarity first. Most people make the mistake of trying to sound impressive when they write. They use complicated words and long sentences because they think it makes them sound smart. But here's the reality. Clarity beats complexity every single time. When I was learning English, I thought good writing meant using the biggest words possible. I would write like this: I'm working to enhance my language skills, instead of I want to improve my English. I was trying to sound advanced, but it actually made my writing worse. So here's how to put clarity first. Before you write anything, ask one simple question. What am I really trying to say? Then write it down in the simplest way possible. Don't worry about making perfect. Just make it clear. Let's say you need to write an email asking for more time on a project. Instead of starting with, I would like to request an extension on the deadline due to unexpected circumstances. Just write, I need more time for the project because this becomes your goal. The clear idea that guides everything else. Professional writers call this the clarity statement, and they always write it before anything else. The magic happens when you force yourself to use simple words. Your brain stops hiding behind fancy language and start focusing on the actual idea. When your idea is crystal clear, the right words just flow naturally. I used to spend 30 minutes just writing a single email because I was trying to sound impressive. Now I write better emails in 5 minutes because I know exactly what I want to say before I even start typing. Step 2 is about structuring like a pro. Once you have clarity, you need to organize your thoughts in a way that pulls the readers through your writing. The secret structure that professionals use is simple, but almost nobody teaches this. It's called context, point, example, relevance. Context means just giving away enough background so your reader understands why they should care. This is just usually 1 or 2 sentences. Point is your main idea, the thing that you want your reader to understand or do. Example makes your point real through a story, comparison, or a specific case. Relevance connects your point back to your reader, showing why it matters to them. So let me show you how this works. Say you're writing an email suggesting that your team should switch to a new project idea. The context. Our current project management system requires us to use 3 different apps, which is causing confusion and delays. Point. I believe switching to a new app would solve this problem and save us time. Example. When I used this app at my previous job, we reduced meeting time by 30% because everyone could see project updates in real time. Relevance. This would free up about 5 hours per week for our team to focus on more important tasks. That's it. 4 sentences that say everything you need. You can expand each part with more details, but the structure stays the same. What is amazing about this structure is that it works every single time for any paragraph or even an entire book. When I discovered this framework, my writing instantly became better. Not more going off topic, not more where this is going for my readers. Every sentence had a purpose. So step 3 is what I call the power edit strategy. And this is where average writing becomes great writing. Most people edit focus on grammar and spelling, but professional writers know that real edit, it's about power, not perfection. The power edit has just 3 questions and will transform your writing more than any grammar correction ever could. First question, how can I cut this in half without losing the meaning? Most first drafts are twice as long as they need to be. Some people use phrases like in order to instead of just to, or at this point in time instead of just now, just repeating themselves without realizing it. When I edit, I try to cut my word count by 50% without losing any meaning. And this helped me find the strongest version of each sentence. And it's really hard because it's like taking real parts of yourself out. But you have to realize that the end result is going to be amazing. An email that could possibly take like 5 paragraphs now just takes 2. A report that before was 10 pages now can be 5 pages. And it can be actually way better and more powerful. Second question, does this sound like something I would say? Read your writing out loud. If it sounds weird or formal coming out of your mouth, it will sound that way to your reader too. I used to write emails that sounded like documents because I thought that formal writing was better writing. Now I write like I'm talking to a smart friend and people actually read what I write. Third question, what feelings I want my reader to feel? And this is a secret that influential writers use all the time. They know that facts give information, but feelings inspired. Before you send anything to anyone, ask yourself what feelings, what emotions you want to create. Do you want your reader to feel excited, concerned, curious, confident? Then make sure your words create that feeling. So when I used to write emails at my work, people wouldn't take that seriously. People wouldn't care about. Then I started making my readers feel more informed and in control. I would write things like, here are 3 things that we need to know about the project this week. Now people were not just reading my emails, but they were also thanking me for them. So let me share how these 3 steps work together. Let's say you need to write a short essay about your dream of becoming a fluent English speaker. So step 1, clarity first. Your clarity statement might be, my dream is to speak English fluently so I can confidently communicate with people around the world. Step 2, structure like a pro. Context. English is the global language of business, travel, and opportunities. I've always wanted to speak fluently, but I used to feel nervous and unsure about my abilities. Point. However, I've learned that fluency is not about being perfect, it's about consistent practice in real-world application. Example. By practicing self-talk daily, shadowing native speakers, and immersing myself in English content, I've improved my pronunciation and confidence dramatically. Relevance. Every day I get closer to my dream. I know that if I stay committed, I will achieve fluency and open doors to exciting new opportunities in my life. Now you would apply the power edit. You would cut unnecessary words, make sure that it feels natural when you read out loud, and check if it creates that feeling that you want. In this case, probably a feeling of encouragement or hope. And when I started using this formula, my writing changed completely. My work emails started to get responses in minutes instead of days. My posts on YouTube started to get more viewed, more liked. So for me, writing is not a struggle anymore. I don't stare at blank pages all the time, second guessing what I'm gonna write that day. I just follow this formula and the words start to flow naturally. And this formula here is worth thousands of dollars. Literally, professional writing coaches charge money for this. But now you have it for free. And by the way, we are just getting started. In the next part, I will show you a psychological trick that makes it impossible for your readers to put your writing down. Is the difference between the writing that gets ignored and the writing that gets remembered. This technique that I'm about to share is so powerful that even speech writers and advertisers protect them like secrets. So far you've learned how to think in English and how to structure your writing like a pro. But there's one more skill that separates average writers from amazing writers. Let me tell you a quick story. When I first moved to another city, I had to find an apartment. And I found this amazing place. Affordable rent, great location, even a small balcony. The problem? 50 other people wanted to. So I wrote what I thought was the perfect email to the owner of the house, explaining why I would be an amazing person to live there. Professional, polite, no spelling mistakes. I did everything. 2 days later, I got one line reply. Thanks, but we've chosen someone else. And I was really upset. But later that week, I was having a conversation with my American friend, complaining about how impossible it was to find another place. And when I showed the email that I had sent, he just laughed at me. And the crazy part is that the owner of the house only spoke English, so that was perfect. And I asked him, what's so funny? Your email, he said. It's fine, but it doesn't make the person feel anything. It doesn't tell a story. But then I said, well, it's an apartment application, not a movie script. And then he said, everything is a story. The person that got the apartment probably made the owner see them living there, taking care of the place, being the perfect neighbor. You just sent facts. And that conversation changed everything for me. Not just about finding apartments, though I actually got an next one that I applied for, but about how writing actually works in the real world. The truth is, facts don't persuade people. Stories do, emotions do. And that is what I'm going to share with you today. How to write persuasively in a way that moves people to take action. And this is a secret that most people pay thousands to learn. That politicians use to win elections, and that the most successful people in any field use every single day. And I'm going to break it down into 3 simple techniques that you can start using today, right now, immediately. The first technique is what I call the bridge of empathy. Most people start writing by thinking about what they want to say, but persuasive writers start by thinking about what the reader is actually thinking and feeling. Remember my apartment application? My email started with my credentials and why I wanted the apartment. But when I applied for the next place, I started differently. I know that you're looking for someone that's gonna treat you like an amazing person with the same care that you have. See the difference? The second version starts where the owner is, with their concerns and priorities. It builds the bridge from their world to mine. And this works in any situation. If you're writing a cover letter, don't start with, I'm applying for this position of, everyone does that. Start with, having followed your company's innovative approach to businesses. I was excited to see that you're looking for someone too. I learned this lesson the hard way at my first job in English. I sent my coworker a long email suggesting changes for our project. I spent hours on it, making sure that every single point was logical and clear. His response, let's discuss this later, which meant probably never. A month later, I tried again, but this time I started with, I know you are feeling the pressure to meet the deadline. And I've been thinking about how we can make that easier for the whole team. He implemented my suggestions the same day. The second technique is called sensory storytelling, and it's possibly the most powerful writing technique that I have ever discovered. Your brain processes sensory details, things that you can hear, see, feel, taste. So when you include sensory details in your writing, you literally light up more areas in your reader's brain. They don't just understand your words, they experience them. Let me show you what I mean. Here's the 2 ways to describe the same situation. Version 1, the new software will improve the results. Version 2, imagine clicking one button and seeing the report that used to take you 3 hours to make appear on your screen in just a few seconds. Now you have time to enjoy your coffee when it's hot. Which one makes you want the software more? The second one, right? It doesn't just tell you the software is fast. It helps you imagine what would it be like to use it and even enjoying your coffee at the same time that you work. I use this method when I wrote a proposal for a client who was taking too long to make a decision. Instead of just listing benefits, I wrote, imagine walking into a room with your report, you hand out the papers and your friends' faces show surprise when they see the big 23% increase. The client signed the contract the same day. Not because I changed the facts, but because I helped them feel the result through the simple details. The third method I called the loop of curiosity. Your brain doesn't like unfinished things. When an idea or a story starts but doesn't finish, your mind keeps thinking about it, wanting to know more. Good writers use this by starting ideas and then leaving them for a little while before coming back to finish them. I found out how powerful this is when I was trying to get my roommate to read the emails that I was sending to him about the house meeting. No one was ever reading past the first paragraph. So I decided to try something different. I started one email with, I found a way we can all save about $50 per month on rent. But first, we need to talk about the kitchen situation. Suddenly, he not only read the entire thing, but he also showed up for the house meeting. This curiosity loop made it impossible to ignore. You can use this in any type of writing. If you're writing an essay, don't just list your points. Set up a question or problem early on that you promise to resolve later. If you're writing an email, mention an interested outcome before you explain how to get there. When I was applying for a scholarship, I always started my essay with, the moment I realized I would be thinking about money all wrong came from an unlikely source, a 94-year-old woman who couldn't remember my name. The scholarship officers later told me that they had to read every single word because they had to find out about that 94-year-old woman. These 3 techniques, the bridge of empathy, the sensory storytelling, and the loop of curiosity, transformed my writing. My writing went from people forgetting all the time to a persuasive writing. But there's a 4th technique that ties them all together. And it's so simple most people overlook it. I call it the one-person audience. And it's something that I learned from a friend that learned from a famous author. When my friend asked him how he kept millions of readers engaged, he said something that shocked me and my friend. I never write for millions. I write for me. He explained that the most persuasive writing feels like a one-on-one conversation, not like you're writing for thousands of people, like you're talking to a friend. Before writing anything important, I now take a moment to visualize one specific person reading my words. What are they worried about? What makes them laugh? What do they need from me? Then I write as if we are having coffee together. And this happened by accident when I was writing something for my work. Instead of the usual formal tone that you have to use, at work settings. I was tired, so I started to explain some changes to my work as if I was talking to my friend. I almost rewrote it the next morning, but it was too late, so I had to send it as it was. And the response was amazing. People from my work that I had never talked to started to email me, thanking me for that email. They started to say how clear it was and what I had done differently. All because I accidentally wrote for just one person instead of a whole audience. So let me show you how these 4 techniques work together. Say you need to convince your friend to start working out with you. Most people would write like this: you should start working out, it's good for your health and it will give you more energy. Boring, right? No one is rushing to change their habits after reading that. Here's how you could rewrite it using persuasive techniques. Remember last week when you were out of breath just from walking up the stairs? I think I found a way to make sure that never happens again, but it means adding a short workout to your day. I know you're already busy, and the idea of working out might feel like just another thing on your schedule. But picture this: you run up the stairs easily, you are not running out of breath, you don't need to stop. You feel strong and full of energy for the rest of the day. You told me last time that you wish you had more energy. This could be the thing that makes a difference. It only takes 10 minutes a day, and in a few weeks, you'll feel way better. Want to try a quick workout together tomorrow? Now see how different this feels. Same request, but now it's way more persuasive because it connects emotionally, creates vivid sensory experiences, builds curiosity, and it speaks directly to one person's needs. And the best part about these persuasive writing techniques, they work in any language, but they're especially more powerful in English because English has such a rich sensory vocabulary and flexible sentence structure. And when I started using these techniques, something amazing and unexpected happened. People started to read my things more. I was getting responses way faster. My ideas got implemented, my requests got approved, my applications were accepted. And this brings us to the next and final secret about writing well in English. Something most language courses never teach you. But I'm going to share this thing that is going to transform your writing in the next part. It's the missing secret that turns writing from a skill that you have into a power you will love. So let me tell you about the day that I realized I had been writing wrong my whole life. I was sitting in a coffee shop one day, watching a woman at the next table typing really fast on her laptop. In 1 hour, she filled page after page. And at the same time, I had written just 2 paragraphs and deleted most of them at that same day. As she got up to leave, I was really curious, so I had to ask her. So I asked her, "Excuse me, I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I couldn't help noticing how fast you can type. Are you a professional writer?" And she said, "I'm a ghostwriter. I write about 5,000 words a day." I was really surprised because I was struggling to write 500 words a day, and she writes 5,000. So I had to ask her, what's your secret? She said, "I separate the creator from the editor. Most people try to be both at the same time. That is why they are slow." And then she wrote me her email and told me to send her a message if I wanted to know more. And that changed my life forever. And what she taught me in the months that followed was a system so powerful that even her clients paid her a lot of money to use that. So right now, I'm gonna share with you that system. But first, let me show you exactly what happens when you sit down right now to write and you feel stuck. It's not what you think. Most people believe that when you feel stuck trying to write, is usually about lack of ideas. But that is almost never the problem. The problem is that you're trying 2 completely different mental tasks at the same time. Writing requires creativity, an open, flowing state that connects ideas freely. Editing requires judgment, a critical, analytical state where you evaluate and make things better. These 2 mental states literally use completely different parts of your brain. Try to do both at the same time. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You either go nowhere or you just crash. And I learned this the hard way when I was working in an AI company. My boss asked me to write a simple client proposal. I spent 3 days writing it. And every sentence I wrote, I immediately criticized. Every paragraph I went back and revised it. By the time I submitted, I had rewritten probably more than 11 times. And my boss just took one look and said, "This is too much overthinking." Then he showed me the analytics from our website. The articles that performed best were the ones that were written really quickly in a single session. And the ones that performed worst were the ones that people were overthinking too much. That's when it clicked for me. Overthinking doesn't improve writing. It makes it worse. And that's when I started using the system that is called the separated writing method. And it's the same system used by best-selling authors, copywriters, and content creators who need to produce exceptional writing on a deadline. This system has 5 stages, and the magic happens in keeping them separated all the time. First is the brain dump stage. This is where you simply get everything out of your head and onto the page or screen. The only rule is no editing, no stopping, no judging, just write. And when I first tried this, it felt a little bit weird, it felt a little bit wrong, almost physically uncomfortable. I was trying to make all the corrections as I was writing. My fingers were literally twitching, but I had to have only one thing in my mind: forward only, no editing. I even put a stick note on my laptop, forward only, so I could remember that. So everything changed when she showed me how to use what she called momentum markers. Whenever I felt that urge to fix something or I got stuck, instead of stopping, I would very quick type a quick note in and keep going. So my writing would look like: the proposal offers 3 main advantages. Expand this later. First, it reduces costs by eliminating unnecessary systems. Find exact percentage. Second, this simple trick was life-changing. Instead of breaking my flow to perfect every single time, I could keep momentum and then fix the things that I wanted to fix later. My writing speed tripled almost overnight. The second stage is organization. Here you step back and look what you've written from a structural perspective. Not to edit the words, but to move the bigger things around. She taught me to use a technique called the napkin outline. So after doing brain dump, I would grab a napkin. Yes, a napkin. The space limitation is important. It has to be small, and create a simple outline for my ideal structure. Then I would reorganize my brain dump to match it. I use this when writing a lot of essays. My first drafts were a mess. Just my raw thoughts captured in writing. But using the napkin outline technique, I could quickly see this paragraph from page 8 should actually be the introduction, or these 3 sections should be combined. One day, one of my friends saw me doing that and he laughed. That is too much work for just this one task, he said. But when we share our work, my work was way better, while he had to go back 4 times to do it again. The third stage is enhancement. This is where you make your content more powerful. Not by overthinking, but by asking specific enhancement questions. The most powerful question was, where does this need an example? I remember writing a proposal for a major client and feeling like something else was missing. Instead of rewriting forever, I went through and asked these questions for each main point. By adding just 3 specific examples, the proposal went from bad to amazing. We won the contract. Another enhancement question that works like magic is, what would make this matter more to the reader? This one simple question has saved me so much time. I once told my friends that we should change plans even though I knew they wouldn't like it. Instead of just saying, we are changing plans, I share a quick story about how the plan had worked well for another group. And their reaction was completely different. They actually supported the change because they saw how it could be better for them as well. The fourth stage is polish. Only now, after you dumped your ideas, organized them, and made them better, do you actually edit your writing. And even here, there's a system to prevent overthinking. One of the best strategies that I used was the 1 pass rule. You get exactly 1 pass for each one of these elements in this specific order. Cut, remove unnecessary words and sentences, clarify, fix confusing points, connect, improve transitions between ideas, correct, fix grammar and spelling. The 1 pass rule saved me when I was writing my essays. Instead of reviewing for days that went in circles, I gave myself 1 focused pass for each element. It was one of the best essays I had read in years, and I finished 3 weeks ahead of schedule. The 5th and final stage is feedback. Most people show their essay script to others too early, when it is still not ready, or too late, when they are too attached to it to change something. The right time is after you go over it 1 time. But there's a trick to getting useful feedback. Never ask, what do you think? That's gonna make the person give vague responses that is not gonna help you. Instead, ask 3 specific questions. What part confused you even a little bit? What did you want to know more about? What could be removed without losing value? These questions can transform the way someone gives you feedback, and that is gonna impact your writing afterwards. And that happened to me so many times when I had to write some essays, when I had to write things for my work. Instead of just giving myself feedback, I would ask for my colleagues, my friends to give me feedback. And that way I could find specific parts in my writing that I could improve. And the end product was so much better. And it's not just about speeding up your writing, even though it does. It's more about going through this process without suffering too much. Let me prove it with a story. After a year learning this system, I started my business, which I had to write every single day. It was normal. It was part of my routine. A friend of mine had also been creating content for 3 years. And every time he would write something, he would overthink every single word. He always felt like his writing was not good enough, so he spent so much time changing every sentence, word, structure. It was crazy. When I started writing, I used the separated writing method. My process looked like this: 9 to 9:20. Write down everything I know about the topic. 9:20 to 9:30. Make a quick, simple outline. 9:30 to 9:45. Organize ideas and add examples. 9:45 to 10. Do a final edit and polish. 10. Publish. 1 hour total. My friend was spending 4 to 6 hours on the same task. After a month, we compared results because the technique that I was using, I was testing to see if it would improve my speed, my writing, and everything. So I had this doubt in my mind. Is this gonna work or not? But the difference was crazy. Even though my friend's content was technically good, it felt weird and over-edited. Meanwhile, my posts were getting more shares, more engagement, and even more positive messages from readers. And even though my friend spent so much more time trying to make everything perfect, his writing felt like he worked on them too much. And that moment changed everything. I taught him the system that day, and after that, he started to get more engagement, his writing started to get way better, and he was not waste time like he was before. And here's something that is gonna blow your mind. This system works way better in your second language. Why? Because no native speakers are often the ones that overthink too much. We are so worried about making mistakes that we paralyze ourselves with excessive editing. And sometimes when I write in my native language, I still slip into old habits sometimes. But when I write in English, I focus on follow these 5 separated stages. And that is why my English writing is so much faster and sometimes even better than my native language writing. So how can you use this system in your writing? First, you need to separate each stage of your work. I use different locations for each step. I do my brain dump at my tiny desk, organize everything on the couch, improve it at the kitchen table, and polish everything back at my desk. If you cannot change locations, change something else, like your posture, font, or even the time of the day. Second, use timers to stop yourself from mixing up stages. If you start editing at the same time that you're doing your brain dump, it messes up the system. A timer creates urgency and helps you focus on one stage at a time. Third, create a routine that you can do before you start writing so your brain knows that you are about to enter writing mode. Before I do my brain dump, I drink a glass of water and I listen to instrumental music. Before I start polishing, I switch to silence. I don't listen to anything. These small changes help your brain switch between critical thinking and creative. This system has saved me hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. It helped me get jobs, win clients, win some scholarships. But the most important thing is that it actually made writing something that I enjoy instead of something that I just overthink. Now I'm about to share with you a mindset shift that made English finally feel like my first language. Not just a language I've learned. Once you understand this, you will never write the same way again. I've saved the most valuable system for last. What I'm about to share with you not only changed my life forever, but also it changed for everyone that I've taught this. This is a real framework that turned my struggling in writing into my biggest moneymaker. Here's the mind-blowing truth that most people will never tell you. The best writers are not naturally talented. They simply have better feedback systems than everybody else. Let me share with you what I discovered that completely transformed my approach. I call it the mirror method. A system so powerful that when I shared with a friend that was writing her book, she finished the script in 30 days after being stuck for 2 years. When a marketing director that I know started using it, his team content started to outperform in the competition with twice their budget. This system works in 3 simple parts that everyone can start using it right now. First, after every writing section, set a timer for 5 minutes. During this time, you will perform a specific extraction process. Find the one sentence that took you the longest to write. Find the paragraph where you felt the most stuck. Identify the transitions that feels weird. And these are not random questions. This is a technique that reveals exactly where your writing system breaks down. I discovered this by accident when I was working on a project that had a deadline. I got stuck on a sentence for 15 minutes, even though the rest was easy to write. When I thought about why, I realized that I was trying to sound smart instead of being clear. Once I stopped doing that, I started to write twice as fast. Here's the best trick. Save your best sentences in what I call a personal playbook. This becomes your own writing guide. After a few weeks, you will see patterns in your writing. I was helping one of my friends implement this method, and the results were shocking. His best writing had short sentences, clear examples, and almost no fancy words. He had been making things harder for no reason. Now, here's what really makes the difference. Instead of saying, I need to get better at writing, focus on one small thing at a time. Maybe it's using more examples, making smoother sentences, or removing extra words. These little changes add up really fast. Just 1% improvement every single day makes you 37 times better in a whole year. And that is not even motivation, it's just math, just facts. Here's something that surprised me. I tracked my writing for a month and I found out that I spent 70% of my time, 70%, only staring at a screen, not actually writing. But when I started to focus on small improvements instead of the whole process, I tripled my speed. The key is to track the right things. Forget counting words. Instead, focus on making the right decisions faster. How quickly can you pick between two sentences? Track your time. Good writers remove at least 30% of their first draft, while beginners try to keep everything. Notice when you pause. If you stop for more than 30 seconds, that's a weak spot. A friend of mine writing mail for businesses, he used these systems and he got 40% more replies in just 3 weeks. It wasn't because he learned new tricks. He just removed the weak parts of his writing, which made his message stronger. And here's what happens when you follow this process. Week 1, it feels a bit weird because you notice things you're not good at. Week 2, you stop overthinking and start writing faster. Weeks 3 and 4, your writing speed improves by 25 to 40%. By month 3, writing feels easy instead of stressful. This is not just another writing tip. It's a whole system that makes writing more simple and reliable. And the biggest lesson that you can take from this is that waiting for inspiration is a huge mistake. Good writers have systems that they can follow so they can write well anytime they want, not just when they feel like it. And one last thing that changed everything for me. Stop thinking of writing as self-expression. See it as clear communication that gets results. Once you do this, writing stops being a struggle and it becomes your superpower. I wasted years figuring out this, but now you have the shortcut. Follow this and writing will be simple. By the way, writing is just one out of 2 things that you can express yourself in English. You can be an amazing writer, but you can also lack speaking skills. So everything that you just learned in this video will not mean that much if you don't know how to speak and how to speak with confidence. So that's why I made this completely full guide on how you can speak English fluently with confidence. And you can watch it to improve your speaking skills just as you're writing. I see you very soon.